Warm mint tea. Some minty mint tea. Should be like an exercise to warm up. Minty mint tea. I'm drinking minty mint tea. Minty. Now I haven't been to every country in Asia. I've only passed through the Middle East on layovers. But I've spent a ton of time in East Asia and Southeast Asia. I lived in Vietnam for 2 years. I lived in China for 3 years. According to my latest statistics, I spend about a third of the year traveling. So I've seen a lot of places. I wanted to make this video my 10 favorite places to travel to in Asia. I guess it's not travel to, it's my 10 favorite places to travel in, to be in. It's not actually traveling to, it's my favorite to go to on the flight or on the... This was a really tough one for me to put together. There's just so many awesome options. But I tried to mix it up with some cities, some beaches, some off the beaten path locations that you've probably never heard of, and which is maybe part of the reason why I like them so much. Because you're not there? No. Because they're not really part of the tourist industry as heavy as other places, and I have this whole thing about traveling to the country and not to the tourist industry of the country. So let's break it all down. Now. I said no. First of all, Myanmar is the friendliest place I've ever been to. It absolutely amazed me how friendly the people are. Literally, people were stopping us in the street just to welcome us. It's a great country to travel to, and out of the 5 or so places that we went to there, Inle Lake was my favorite. It's got the natural beauty, it's got the culture, there's great food there, there's even a great winery, and it's got the lake, the beautiful lake. You can rent a boat driver for the day, and he'll take you out to various spots, to temples, factories, and he'll show you the traditional fishing. You can even stop and smoke some cigars with the locals. That being said, my favorite day there was the day that we rented bicycles. Scenes like this one, I'll never forget. So we rode halfway around the lake, and then we hired a boat to ferry us and our bicycles back across to the other side. This little boat ride was almost as good as the full day on the lake, and it was also our first view of the lake, so it was just really overwhelming. I'll never forget getting through the reeds, through the stilted houses, and the lake just kind of boom, it opens up, and it was so beautiful. The boat driver dropped us off at the end of a long pier, and we got our bicycles, and before we could actually ride off, somebody else offered us a little boat taxi ride to the restaurant just across the way. Having a delicious lunch in a stilted house on Myanmar's second largest lake with the Shan Highlands in the distance, it was really unforgettable. When I first arrived to Guangzhou, it took me about 5 minutes to fall in love with the city. At this point, I had lived in China for almost 3 years, so my Chinese was about as good as it will ever get. And I had a really good grasp on the culture. Guangzhou was everything I loved about China. I immediately started eating, and I barely stopped to digest the whole 3 days I was there. Honestly, I think it's one of the best food cities in the world. Roast pork, fresh noodles, coconut chicken, dumplings, seafood, dim sum, fei chang, is that what it's called? It's these sheets of rice noodles wrapped around stewed pork. And I can't forget the fried scallion pancakes. This thing was life-changing. I stumbled across this lineup late one night. People were waiting for about 15 minutes in the rain to get a sheet of bread. So I knew it had to be good. It was good, so good. I wish I had spent more time in Guangzhou. I didn't do a single tourist thing the whole time I was there. I didn't even lay eyes on the famous Canton Tower, but I loved the small back streets and all the little food joints, the market. I remember getting a shave in some random spot just so I could get out of the rain. Beijing and Shanghai may be the most famous places in China, but to me, Guangzhou is the soul of the country. I've been pretty much everywhere in Vietnam. It's one of my favorite countries in the world, one of the best places to travel in my opinion. I considered putting Dalat on the list, maybe a place in the Mekong Delta, Kanto, or there's a bunch of great places down there. But I ended up going with this small little village. It's called Tam Kok. It's located in the Trang An Scenic Landscape Complex, which doesn't sound like much. It sounds like, I don't know. But it's also sometimes referred to as the Halong Bay of rice paddy fields. Large limestone karsts jet out of the ground, towering above a picture-perfect river that's lined with rice paddy fields. We weren't even there at the time when the rice paddy fields looked their best, but it was still unbelievably gorgeous. One word of warning, I've heard some people are turned off by this area after hiring a boat to take them along the river. Even though that's the main attraction there, after hearing stories about aggressive boat drivers, we decided to just do the area on foot. There are so many great strolls you can take around. We also rented a motorbike and did a few local attractions, including, I believe, what's considered the oldest town in Vietnam, and there's a beautiful viewpoint. The roads are great for driving. It just seemed that at every turn there was something to go wide-eyed over. Wide-eyed over? No? Can you hear me? You don't like wide-eyed over? What's wrong with wide-eyed over? It's a little difficult to say, but... It just seemed every turn had something to get a for. One of my favorite cities in the world. KL has it all. It's impressively modern. It has a lot of tradition. It's multicultural. The food, all the food. All the food. You can get amazing Chinese food thanks to the immigrants from mainly Hakka, Canton, which is now known as Guangdong, which is the province that Guangzhou is in. I mentioned that previously. And also there's a lot of immigrants from Fujian province. These are some of the best areas in China for food. But Malaysia also has great Indian food, or at least their own version of it. Stuff like roti canai, masala dosa. The dal is really good. With a cup of tea, it's just... Excuse me. Malaysians don't just eat other people's food, though. They have their own delicious food, like nasi lemak, a coconut rice that you'll find served with all sorts of good stuff, like a hunk of fried chicken, for example. Can't go wrong there. Other than the food, there are a ton of things to do in Kuala Lumpur. They have an aquarium, which totally blew my mind. Their parks are pristine. It really does a good job of mixing city and nature. We've been to Kuala Lumpur 3 times, and I'll go back again in a heartbeat. In fact, we'd love to live there. So if there are any international schools out in KL that are looking to hire a science teacher, I know one. She's really good. She's working right now. I can see her through the window. She just can't hear this part. Sarah actually claims it's her favorite city in the world. I'm torn. I'm torn between it and my next entry. Roll the thing. First of all, I got a bone to pick with Wade and Giles in their stupid romanization of the Mandarin language. Opinion far superior in my opinion. I don't know what Taipei is doing, what Taiwan is doing with these crazy romanizations. Just go with opinion. I know you want to be different than China. It's like this whole thing. It's like blah, blah. It's not called Taipei. It's called Taipei. The P should be pronounced like a B, I guess. Bei means north in Mandarin, so it's like the north part of Thai. Despite me calling it the wrong name for years, I love the city. It's what I love about China mixed with the West and maybe a little sprinkle of Japan and Korea. China's great, but it's very Chinese. Taipei feels more like a city of the world. I can get the things I love about China there, but I can also use Google, which is nice. There's some great hiking in Taipei. It's very modern. The subway system is one of the best in the world, so it's really easy to get around. The coast isn't too far. There are mountains close by. I feel like I've been talking a lot about food, but it's one of my passions. And Taipei has some of the best night markets in the world. You can get so much great street food there. I mean, just look at all this. Okay, let's get off the beaten path with this one. Indonesia has a lot going on, a lot of great places. Everyone knows about Bali, which is incredible. I really like Lombok. It's the next island over. It's beautiful. But I chose South Sulawesi because it doesn't get much attention and it has great beaches, culture, some of the best food in the country. It's a province on the island of Sulawesi. The capital is Makassar, which has a long history of being a trading port. Because of this, there's actually some really unique food in the city, Chinese food included, which is nice because they eat pork, and there's not much pork in Indonesia on account of them being Muslim. But they have some other unique dishes. The seafood is good, and they set up food stands along the boardwalk, which makes for a cool dining experience. Further along the coast is a town called Bira, which has a wide open, soft sand, turquoise water beach. We chilled out here for days, just relaxing and combing the beach. I saw some deer, a rare type of macaw. Sarah, is the macaw, is it macaw or macaw for the monkey? Macaw. Yeah, macaw. Right?
Macaw is a bird.
Oh. Macaw's a bird.
Macaque is the monkey.
Macaque. How do you spell it?
Macaque.
Oh. Q-U-E. Macaque? That's a stupid way to spell a word that sounds like macaque. I saw a really type spare, what? Okay, we're moving west to the country of Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka was a great place to travel. It was really hard for me to choose one place here. There's good coastal towns. Even the capital, Colombo, is just a cool city, and it's pretty small. Like, it doesn't feel like a big major city. But in the end, I chose Ella, her, under my umbrella. But I ended up choosing Ella because it was a little bit different than the rest of them. It's a mountain town, about 1,000 meters above sea level. There's a lot of great hiking in the area. There's cool wildlife. We did a tour that showed us village life in the area. It was really interesting, learning about how they farm crops when they have to deal with things like elephants that want to come and just decimate their fields.
Amit, our guide, just said that this wall got damaged because an elephant could smell the salt in the kitchen here. And it just kind of came up against the wall and pushed and reached for it with its trunk.
Ella is a resort town. People go there to escape the heat, so it is set up for tourists, but it was really easy to get away from all that. There are great accommodations that are surrounded by nature, but we could also walk to the main street to get wood oven cooked pizza or whatever. Not that we ate much pizza because the food in Sri Lanka is really good as well. I'm not going to go too much into the food. I know. I've talked too much about food, but it is getting close to lunchtime. We went to Palawan before Palawan was cool. I guess it was still cool when we went there, but people didn't go there, so it was even cooler then. I'm sure things have changed since we were there in 2012. I know they're getting more tourism now, but at the time it felt very off the beaten path, despite Palawan being the biggest island in the Philippines. I remember it being very chill. There were very few tourists, and most of them were Filipino. We relaxed in Port Barton for a while. This is a small fishing village with a nice beach and just great vibes. Then we went up to the tippy-toppy of the island to El Nido, which is a popular scuba and snorkeling spot. We took a boat tour of some islands. We swam in the most pleasant waters I think I've ever been in. We saw some fish, ate some fish, and just soaked in all the beauty. I guess this one's a little bit of a cheat, but I couldn't just choose one place in northern Laos. Of course, Luang Prabang is an incredible tourist city filled with many temples and beautiful outings. But northern Laos is so much more than that. Did you know you could take a slow boat from Luang Prabang to the border in Thailand? It's a 2-day cruise. It's really cheap and just really beautiful. Just north of Luang Prabang, the Mekong meets up with Laos' second most important river, the Nam O. I think that's how you say it. There's some great little villages, though, on that river, including a place called Nong Kia. I think that's how you say it. It's one of those towns where time seems to go by really slowly. We didn't do much there but walk around, grab food, and just relaxed as the river went by. One of my favorite things to do in northern Laos, though, is to rent a motorbike and cruise through the countryside, stopping whenever you see something interesting, whether it's a cool bridge, a waterfall, or just a group of kids having a good time. I love South Korea. Again, it was really hard to choose just one place there. But I chose Busan because it's a bit smaller than Seoul, it's a bit more laid back, but it still offers pretty much everything Seoul does. In fact, they also offer the largest seafood market in Korea, which is a great place to go, grab lunch. Some people go here to try the baby octopus that's still moving when they serve it to you. I preferred a bit of sashimi and some beers. Busan's coastal location also offers great hikes. There's a beach there. We were there in the winter, so we didn't swim or anything, but it was still very active and a great place to sip a coffee and just people watch. They have great markets with tasty street food. They even have the world's largest department store. Also, Busan is considered the film capital of Korea. They host one of the biggest film festivals in the world there.
What's your favorite Jeremy Irons movie?
I'm sure you've all heard of Parasite, the film that won Best Picture this year at the Oscars. But Korea has a long history of filmmaking, so it was cool visiting the Busan Cinema Center, even if it was just to have a look around. Well, that's it. The 10 places in Asia that I recommend checking out. I know there are some places that you're probably yelling at me about. No Thailand, no Cambodia, no India, no Japan. I haven't actually been to Japan yet. I really, really want to go. But the other places, I considered them for sure. Sarah's just laughing at me. She's trying to make a living here. I don't know why she's gotta be so mean to me. So let me know in the comments below if there's any places you recommend me checking out in Asia. If you want to see more video about any of the places I mentioned, I probably made a video about them already. You can type into YouTube in the search. You could type Itchy Feet on the Cheap and then the name of the place. You hit the keys. The keys have the letters on them. So like if you want an A, you hit the A, the one with the A on it. And remember to wear sunglasses when it's really bright out, because the UV rays will go in your eye holes and then they'll burn your eye holes.
Prefer when I'm by myself. I don't wanna hang around y'all. Pray for good health. One day I'm really gon' ball. Fuck around and buy the whole mall. Breaking that cake. Flexing 700 in the bank. Not a superhero, I don't save. Look at my face. Look at my grades. Don't match up, no love. We can date.